This is chapter 5 of my 5 years license series. I am so excited to do this particular video. This is the video that I've been wanting to do this whole time. This is the video that inspired the whole series, and this is about my failures. I'm talking about the stuff that I really wanted, the stuff that I thought I wanted and it didn't work out, and how that was probably the best thing that could have happened. The failures are for the best in the long run. In my first episode of this series, I talked about how in beauty school I had kind of decided that I wanted to be on stage and I wanted to be an educator for Paul Mitchell because I went to a Paul Mitchell school. And the first step for being an educator obviously is working in a Paul Mitchell school. Now again, this was back in 2016. I got hired, I think it was October of 2016. And I liked it. I really liked it. I liked being an instructor. I liked what I was doing. I had started doing what they call design team events for some of the events that they would volunteer for. So if it was a fashion show, like a local fashion show, I would take the students and they would do the hair and I would help them. And I really liked doing that. That was really cool. But I wanted to be like an actual instructor in the classroom teaching. And so I became a protege teacher, which if you watched that first video, protege is where you start taking real clients. You start taking family, friends, and you start getting that confidence to where you can take walk-ins or other clients that will come into the school for you to work on them. So I was that teacher. I loved my students. I was so like just committed to like, I just wanted them to know that I was there for them. I was too immersed in my own stuff. I was going through a really hard time at that time, and my emotions were all over the place. I don't think that I knew what I was getting into. I worked night school and I was a night school student. You're spending 5 nights a week with these people. And yes, you're inevitably going to say something about your personal life. Now, I am going to be very transparent about this, but at the same time, I only want to talk about what's relevant and what is useful to talk about. So the reason that I'm even bringing it up is because I think that I missed the point of being there. I thought I was there to help these students get to where they wanted to be. I was not prepared for how much of a corporate environment it actually was. I was looking at it like I had such a good time being a student here. I want to make sure that other people have a good time being a student here, which didn't really jive with what I was expected to do, or people that were in a position of authority over me. When I started to see things that I didn't exactly agree with and I voiced opinions that they didn't want to hear, when I said certain things that they didn't like, when they realized that I had such a close relationship with my students and that the students knew what was going on with me. And I'm just going to be real, or if I'm going through something really difficult and I need to cry, I'm going to cry. I will try to hold it in. I'll try to excuse myself, but you're clearly going to know that I'm about to cry. Like, I can't hide it. I'm not the type of person that I can just like put a poker face on. If something's wrong, you're gonna know. I sometimes would have to excuse myself from the classroom and, take care of my emotional state for a second and come back. And, if somebody were, if the right person asked me, I might just be like, well, let me tell you what's going on. My grandfather's dying, and that's what's happening. And there was other things at the time that, made that worse for me. And that made me a much more emotional person than I would have been any other time. But yeah, like just straight up, I was an emotional wreck at the time. But I was showing up, I was trying, I was, I thought like, oh, it's gonna be okay, like they're gonna understand, whatever. I think it was like I said, I think it was 2 things happening at the same time. I was super emotional and I wasn't thinking clearly because I was so emotional. And then the other thing that was happening was I could see that we could do better at the school and that things were not as great as they could have been. And so I'm super emotional, but at the same time, I'm giving my 2 cents that nobody asked for. And so those things together, I think, made me a target. And rightfully so, you know, like, who wants to deal with somebody super emotional at work? Probably nobody. And so I found myself getting in trouble like every week. I found myself, you know, people complaining about me every week. And I'm like, what? Like, I don't get it. Again, not thinking clearly because I was so emotional. And I just couldn't fathom how, because my heart was in the right place. My heart was so much in the right place. And I wanted to, I'm going to get emotional now. Like, I really wanted to help people. And I really wanted to help students. And then I would have this other side of things where I didn't feel appreciated. And I felt like people were out to get me. And I felt super paranoid. I'm going to be, like I said, really, really real. Basically, my disclaimer for this video is I'm not going to mention names. I'm not going to get into details, but my privacy was violated multiple times being an employee at that school. One of the times I actually had proof. And so when I presented that proof to the person that was supposed to be there for me and that person that was supposed to rectify the situation, they then used that situation to prove their point that I needed to be fired. So did I walk myself into that scenario? Yes. Did I make it worse? Yes. Did I make the whole situation a lot harder than it had to be? Absolutely. Hi, have we met? Yeah, like, that's kind of where I was at the time. You know what I mean? By being super reactive and very defensive. And so at that moment in time, that job was not for me. I should not have been there. I honestly should have never been hired. Knowing what I know now, I should have never been hired. But the only reason why I'm really, really grateful for that opportunity and for that experience, as painful as it was, I've never been fired from a job my entire life. Not to say that if you get fired that somehow that you're a bad person or anything like that, but I just had never gone through that before. So I did not realize how hurt I was going to be by that situation. I just felt so violated and betrayed, and I felt so hurt. It was such a painful experience because I went in with the best intentions. I reacted to everything the wrong way. I wasn't making the best decisions, and I wasn't in the right mindset to deal with some of the stuff that was coming at me, especially from people that were supposed to do better. Now I understand why I'm not meant to be an instructor at that school. Now I understand why I'm not meant to be on stage for Paul Mitchell. Exponentially better, because that was never for me. I thought it was, but it was really never for me. And so I had to really learn the hard way, put myself out there, fall on my face, and get back up. I'm really grateful that it isn't even an option now. And not because I can't, or, you know, if I wanted to, because, you know, they even said when they fired me, like, hey, when you get yourself together, like, you can come back, which I thought, yeah, not gonna happen. But, you know, they offered, you know, when I was like, you know, in a better place to try to come back and try again. And my thing is, you know, it didn't work out because it didn't work out. So no, I'm not gonna go back, but thanks for the offer. You know what I mean? It's just like, I really had to fail. I really had to fail because I was so adamant that that's what I needed to do. 1,000%, I felt like I got set up to fail. But not just by other people, but by myself too. Because I believed something that I shouldn't have believed in the first place. But I had to see for myself, and I had to go through it myself. And I used to not even be able to talk about this without crying. But I definitely can talk about it now without crying or getting emotional. You know, the former students that I had at the time, I still have really good relationships with most of them. If they have any questions about, you know, color cutting, you know, their clientele, this, that, the other, you know, anything that I can help them with, they feel comfortable asking me, which is huge. That's what I wanted. I wanted to help people. And so in a roundabout way, I still am able to help those students and those former students that are now professionals, and we're colleagues now, and it's amazing. And, you know, that was something that really made that experience worth it. And the people that I don't have a relationship with, and the people that I don't speak to, and the people that I have no interest in speaking to again, you know, I just know that they're not supposed to be in my life. And I have no bad feelings towards them. I just know that we're not meant to be on this journey together. I wish them the best. They did what they felt like they had to do at the time. And now looking back, I would have totally, you know, dealt with it a whole different way, but I can't go back. And I'm sure that they feel like, maybe they feel they would have done things differently, but they can't go back either. And I just remember how I felt knowing that somebody decided that my privacy wasn't worth protecting. And I remember how it felt to know that somebody didn't see me as a person. They just saw me as a pawn that they needed to get out of their way. And again, that's all I'm going to say about that. You know, just so you know, 2 or 3 days before I got fired, I kind of knew it was coming, and I contemplated quitting right then and there. The only regret I have is not quitting that night and waiting until Monday for them to fire me. That's the only regret I have, because I could have walked out on my own terms, knowing that it wasn't the right place for me. It wasn't the right environment for me. It was hurting me. I wasn't doing well there. I could have and should have walked away first. So that's the only regret I have. So that's my advice to anybody who's going through something similar, where you're not appreciated, you're not valued, they don't see you as a person. Somebody out there will. And there is a place for everyone. There is a place for everyone where they will be valued and will be appreciated. Find that place. Do not waste one more second in a place where you're not appreciated. And I'm going to leave it there, because I might say some stuff I don't want to say. So I'm just going to leave it there. If you have any questions, or if you've been through anything similar, go ahead and drop it in the comments, and I would love to talk to you about it. It's not about who, what, or where, or why, or how. It's not even about any of that. It's about getting through it and realizing that that wasn't for you, and that you do have something better coming. Thank you so much for watching, and next episode will be up in a second. So I will see you then. Thanks.